This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Let's get right into the news. Well, Mike Tyson reflects on the night Mike Tyson passed. It was a night he was boxing. He had pressured Tupac to come to the match, and that's where Tupac got into it in Vegas with Orlando, and then he passed. Okay. And Mike Tyson said he kind of felt like it was his fault because he kind of pressured him to come to the fight. But everybody wanted to go to a Mike Tyson fight. I mean, Mike Tyson was at his prime, you know. Everybody wanted to see Mike Tyson just get into it, okay? But it made me think, you know, deeper about this whole situation. Because, you know, we are always bombarded with stories. Up until this day, they're making, you know, short movies, they're making everything, documentaries, they're doing interviews with people about it. And, you know, everything starts to come together. And everybody involved, think about this. This is the craziest part when you really think about it. It seemed like Tupac was on death row for like a long time. It was only a year. Only 1 year he was on death row. He only released one album on death row when he was alive. That's insane. He released one album in February of 1996 when he passed. He released All Eyes on Me, probably one of the best albums ever. He released that, and then a couple days after he passed, Don Columinati Machiavelli, which is a great album, got released. Those two albums are the only two that he ever came out on death row. But that's a huge, huge part of history. I mean, it seemed like he was on the way it was, like, and it felt around that time, growing up as a kid, it felt like he was on death row like a long time. And it really wasn't that long. It was only 1 year. And this got me to thinking about other stuff. Like, so this whole thing that happened at the fight with Orlando. That's directly why he passed. He was having a lot of issues being on death row and claiming, you know, a gang and everything, and he was having issues. And that direct altercation with Orlando, which nobody should have allowed him to get into because he's the artist, he's the money. Somebody should have stopped him, was the result of him passing. How does that trickle into Biggie a year later? Everyone knew that Biggie had nothing to do with it, but Biggie was on the West Coast, and it happened to him. It's almost like somebody wanted to get Biggie and took advantage of the situation where people would think it was related to the Tupac thing. Because there's no reason for Biggie's life to be taken in California after everybody knew that they had nothing to do with Tupac's thing the year prior to that. It's just crazy. It's crazy to me how nobody makes that connection that, hey, this probably had nothing to do with death row or anything a year later with Biggie. It probably had something to do with somebody else. But it's probably somebody taking advantage of the feeling and everything. I mean, did you think somebody really felt like disrespected that Biggie was out on the West Coast? I mean, Tupac had only been really there for a year. You know, like, I don't know. Like, you know, he'd been in LA, but it's like, you know, he had been signed to an LA label for about a year. It's really crazy, man. Like, when you really think about it, you know, like, nobody sits down and just breaks it down. I mean, you listen to all these interviews from bodyguards and people that were in the car that night and, you know, all this other stuff. And then it's like, dude, it's such a petty, I mean, you know what? There was no social media or anything back then to, like, document everything. Everything was more of a mystery, and that's what makes it such a mystery. And the fact that nobody was charged with either of these crimes. Nobody can connect the dots. So everybody has these big conspiracy things going on about it. When it's really like, I feel like someone just took advantage of Tupac had passed a year earlier, and they thought that, it'd be related to that. I think that someone took advantage of that situation and had a different problem with Biggie. I don't know, man. Anyways, we've heard every version of the story. It was connected to this, and it was an undercover, and all this other stuff. I don't know about that. Anyways, guys, this is Jordan Tower with JT News. I'll check you guys in the next one. Smash that like button, and I'll check you guys later. Peace.